Alright, so last week we took our quiz. Like I said, on day 4, we had the YouTube video that showed us our steps on how to use substitution. We did that example. We completed the notes with it. We turned that in that day, so you only had to do one of those examples. You had a worksheet to complete. That's your completion score. It's with the coloring one. Make sure you turn that in to me so I can give you a completion score. You were to fix your quiz, so your quizzes need to be turned in or they go in as zeros. So remember, on Friday, if you did your quiz before like you were supposed to, I checked it, told you which ones were right, which ones were incorrect, and you were able to fix your mistakes and bring it today. So you have to have your quiz turned in today. Today, we're going to work on a new method. So we've looked at graphing equations. We've looked at substitution, which is still kind of confusing to some people. But now we're going to look at the elimination method. Today, we're going to use some easier problems, and I think it's going to make sense for you. This is the one that the majority of the students love. And they always come and say, why didn't you teach us this one instead? Why didn't we do this one first? Well, we have to know the other methods because there's times when they work better. This one, for today, we're going to set up simple equations to do just one main step. And then tomorrow, we're going to add to it. We're going to add another step. But if you did not fill out all your notes, let's start here. The elimination method, we are going to put a note in here. We're just going to say the elimination method is a method for solving the systems of equations by adding and subtracting to eliminate a variable. So we're going to add or subtract these systems of equations. So it gets rid of one of the variables, and I'm only left with like y equals, or 2, or x equals. So here's the steps we will be following today. Step 1, you must make sure the equations are lined up. So you have to have them solved the same way. So x is underneath x, y is underneath y, and our constant is underneath our constant. Step 2, for those that did not get this copied down yet. Step 2 is to add or subtract the equation to eliminate the variable with common coefficients. And we're going to look at that. We have to make sure we know what coefficients are. Remember, coefficients, the number, decimal, or fraction, that come before our variable. Step 3 is you're going to solve for the remaining variable. Step 4, we still have to do the substitution method. Substitute your answer into either the original equation and solve for the other. Okay, so here's how we're going to work this. I'm on board. What? Not working with me. Okay, so everyone's going to do this together. We're going to do a number of examples together as a class. I'm going to do this, then we're going to do it, and then I'm going to give you homework for you to do by yourself. So make sure you're following along. Here's what I'm going to look at first. In step 1, we have to make sure they're lined up. So I have y equals 3x, x plus 4 minus 2. They're lined up. Dylan, do you need to move spots? Last one I'm asking. So we should have our variables lined up. If the first equation is set up like y equals an x plus a number, we need to have the second equation set up the same way. Okay? We cannot have it if this one was y equals 3x plus 4. I cannot put one as y, let's say this was plus x equals, no. All the signs have to be the same. So make sure they're written exactly the same way. Okay, what I want to look for is, I want to look at my variables. So let's look at y and find out the coefficients. We want to find coefficients that are exactly the same. So when we look at y, right here, here's y in this one, here's y. Both of their coefficients are what? Just one. We have one y and we have one y. Just head up so I know you're following along with me. We have one y and we have one y. If we look at our x's, in the first equation my coefficient is 3. In my second coefficient it's 1. Is 3 and 1 the same number? No. But I do have a coefficient that's the same, the y. So we are going to be able to do elimination. Now, there's a couple quick methods to do this. And I did this with algebra, and I'm probably going to steal something from Miss Majors, because this kind of helps kids instead. We are going to always add. I always want to say I'm going to add our two equations. And to do that, there's one important thing I have to pay attention to. On this bottom equation, it's a y, and they're both positive. If they're both positive, one thing we can do is times the bottom equation by -1. And you're going to see why. We want to change the values to negatives. So the top equation is going to stay the same. And I'm going to write it right here. Y equals 3x plus 4. Alright, this one though. Since both my y's were the same sign, they're both positive, I'm going to times the bottom one by a -1. Remember, if I times it by 1, is it going to change at all? No. If we times by a -1, it just changes all the signs. So instead of being a positive y, we have a negative y. Instead of a positive x, we have a instead of -2, we have +2. Now, here's why we did that. Now that the coefficient that was the same, our y's were both 1s, now that they're the same, I can just do the equation up and down on it. So, right here, the first one we're going to do is our y's. And y minus y is 0. Now, we eliminated it. That's what we're doing today. We're eliminating 0. 3x minus 1x.
That would be
2x. 4 plus 2.
8.
Plus, not multiply. 4 plus 2 is 6. So now we have 2x plus 6 equals 0. And we have to solve just for 1x. This is solving equations. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 6x. Or not 6x, I'm sorry, just 6. And I'm going to have -6 equals 2x. Ooh, we're going to hear someone already has the answer. I'm going to divide by 2. And x equals -3. Good. So now we solve for x. X is -3. Now you have to do substitution method. And this is the easiest part of the substitution method because we know what x is. X is -3. I can choose either equation, the top one or the bottom one. Well, to be honest, I'm going to choose the bottom one. It just looks easier to me. So I'm going to use this bottom one, and I'm going to say y equals x minus 2. Okay, y equals, we just said x was -3 minus 2. Okay, so what is -3 minus 2?
-6.
Nope.
Whoa, what?
Not multiplying.
Oh, crap.
-3 minus 2.
-5.
We would get -5. Well, there's my y now. So, my answer is -3, -5. This is pretty simple. We're going to do a few examples of just to make sure we're on the right path. So, going to number 2, I'm going to do this. See how it won't scroll up for me. I don't get what's going on with my board. It's making me choose this. Okay. So, looking at number 2, if you're following along with me, do I have either coefficient that's the same for x's or y's?
Yes,
Right,
the
Dusty,
X.
which one is this? The x's or the y that have the same coefficient? The x. Now, here's the moment of truth. Is x's on both of them, are they both positive, or is one positive, one's negative? They're both positive. If they were opposites, we're going to do that one in a little while. If they were opposites, all we would do is add. If they're the same, we're going to multiply one of the equations, the bottom one, by -1, so they are opposite. Here's why. If they were the same, we could subtract. But when we subtract, what I found with my algebra students was they would subtract the first variable, but they'd forget that they're subtracting, and they wouldn't do it on the rest of it. So, just to make it easier, we're going to say, if they're the same, multiply the bottom one by -1. So, we're going to rewrite our equation. This is now x plus 4y equals 13. I touched nothing on the first equation. But because you told me the second equation, x's were the same, we're going to multiply that equation by -1. So instead of x, we have -x. Instead of minusing a y, we have adding a y. Instead of +3, we have -3. When we times by the -1, we just change every single sign. We make it opposite. And now, we can go ahead and solve. X minus x cancels it out, right? We're done. Easy. 4y plus y. Very good. 4 plus 1 is 5, and we keep our variable there. So 5y. 13 minus 3. Good. How do I get y by itself? Aiden? Okay, now I'm going to divide by 5. And we should get y equals 2. Okay, and my answer, y is 2. Okay, don't shout it out, but now how am I going to find x? Don't shout it out, raise your hand so I have a couple people that can think. Yeah, I see Dusty thinks he knows what to do. How am I going to solve what x is? I know that y is a 2. Donovan thinks he knows. Say thinks she knows. Brett, let's go to you. What am I going to do, buddy?
Substitute 2 in for y.
Good. I'm going to substitute that 2 in for y. And does it matter which equation I do?
No.
No. So which one looks easier to you?
Second.
Second one? Sure. So the second equation is x minus y equals 3. We're going to rewrite it. X minus, and y is a 2. Equals 3. How do I solve for x from this step? Very good. We have x minus 2, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2. X equals 5. So my answer is 5, 2. We're doing a coordinate. X, then y. 2 more. And then I'm going to see if we can do a couple together, or if you guys can kind of roll on this. And we might stop the rest of the examples. Oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with my board today. Seems like after the weekend, it doesn't work well. Okay, number 3. Raise your hand if you can tell me which variable are we going to be eliminating, meaning which variable, x or y, has the same coefficients. Do not shout it out. Raise your hand that you know which one we're going to be doing. I heard from him before. Kate. Good. The x's. We have 3x, we have 3x. Are the equations written the same? Yeah, they're lined up. Meaning, are they lined up? This is the x minus y equals a number. This is x minus y equals a number. Okay. X's are lined up, y's are lined up, equal signs lined up, constants lined up. Are the two numbers the same?
Yes.
They're both positive, right? So what does that mean I have to do? Times it by the negative first. Since it's a positive 3x and a positive 3x, I'm going to times my second equation by 1. So my equation is 3x minus 10y equals 14. And this would turn into negative 3x plus 9y equals negative 15. Yes, sir. Okay, because we had a positive 3x and a positive 3x. Since they're both positive, we're going to times it by negative 1, so we have opposite values. If they're different, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to go straight through and do the addition. You'll see that on number 4.
So you want us doing it this way now?
Mm-hmm. So, right now, let's go ahead and add. Well, it's 3x, and the nice thing is since we're adding, we just have to use whatever value they give us. If they give us a positive, it's adding. If they give us the negative sign, it's a minusing. So we have 3x minus 3x. Those cancel each other out. Negative 10. Do not forget this is a negative 10, because it said minus 10y. Negative 10 plus 9y.
8 drops to 1. Negative.
Negative 1. So just negative y. 14 minus 15. Negative 1. So negative y equals a negative 1. Well, what would a positive y equal? 1. Essentially what we did was multiply by a negative 1. And we get an answer that y equals 1. Alright, Haley, how am I going to solve for x?
You're going to put the y in blue for
Good. I'm going to substitute that 1 for y. Which equation should we use? Second one? Sure. So 3x minus 9y equals 15. We rewrite it. 9 times y was 1. Alright, so now I'm going to solve. Negative 9 times 1 is negative 9. I have 3x minus 9 equals 15. Hate it?
You add 9.
Very good. We're going to add 9. Trying to get that 3x alone. So 3x equals 24. What do we do next? Divide by what? Divide by the 3. X equals 8. Our answer is 8, 1. Okay, we're going to do one last one together as a group. We're going to do one last one as a group. There's a special reason why we did number 4. And then I'm going to look at something for you and give you, I'm going to let you start working on homework today. So, okay, number 4. The equations are in the same. x plus y equals a number. The other one was x plus y equals a number. Raise your hand. Which variable are we going to be eliminating?
Oh, I know.
Which one has the same coefficient? Evan? Good. Now, here's the tricky part. If I'm solving for y, is the y's, are they both positive or is it a positive and a negative?
Positive.
Good. Now, we get confused because the very first one is a negative. But since we're solving for y, it's a positive 2y and a positive 2y. So what do I want us to do first since they're both positive? Good. We're going to multiply the bottom one by negative 1. So my first equation stays the same. 4x plus 2y equals 6. I times by negative. So negative 2x becomes positive 2x. 2y, positive 2y becomes
Negative 2y.
positive 18 becomes,
Negative 15.
and we go ahead and add these. Who thinks they can come up and do the work on this one? While everyone else is working on the paper, who can do it on this smart board? Dusty, you want to give it a shot? Okay, you do that while I walk her up.
Hey, and then what is 6
Keep your sheet in front of you so you can keep working, buddy. Keep solving.
Oh, I do that.
Ooh, but what's 2y minus 2y?
0 and 1?
Oh, 2y minus 2y is 0y.
So you won't have any y. If you put a
Oh.
y there, that looks like it's a 1y.
That's right. So is this?
You have 6x. Looks like Dusty now has 6x equals negative 6. Ooh, try that again.
No.
What is 6 minus 18? You're right, it's going to be negative because my negative's bigger, right?
Yeah.
So what is 18 minus 6? 6 plus 6 is 12.
Negative
Oh,
12.
that's right. It was 12.
There you go. So change that to negative 12.
I know. That's what I got.
Okay, keep solving for x. What's negative 12 divided by 6? Okay, so you have a negative divided by a positive, so it's going to be a negative. So we know the answer is a negative. And then what would be 12 divided by 6? Yep. Alright, so Dusty's gone ahead and done. I don't want you to do the next part. Dusty did the x. Did everyone get that x should be negative 2?
Yes.
Who can show how they solve for y now?
Ooh, wait, no.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
Brett, you think you got it?
Yeah,
Oh,
same.
he's already got it.
No, I'm actually on the video. I'm trying to get on video.
Brett doesn't want to walk him.
I ain't
You
trying
want
to
to
get
go
on
for it?
video.
Go ahead, don't say.
I'll give you a shout out if you go up there. I'll give you a shout out.
No
You
way.
do shut up.
Alright, you guys should be following Dulce on this. Alright. Well, voices should be up. You should be following along. Harrison, Donovan, pay attention. You should be doing this work with us. Okay, so it looks like she has negative 2. She used the bottom equation. So negative 2 times x, and x was negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 plus 2y equals 18.
What's the red one?
Looks like, that was just up there, I think. So negative 2 times negative 2, she has 4 plus 2y. She's minusing 4. 2y equals 14 divided by 2, y equals 7. We will say,
You got it right.
great job.
Catch.
Final answer is negative 2,
Whoever finds it.
7.
I'm stepping on it.
Dylan, eat it.
Alright,
You missed it that bad.
alright. Look it up here so we can finish up.
What are you doing?
There's one last one. I'm not going to work it because I don't think you need this. I think it looks like overall we're doing well. But on number 5, which is the variable that has the same coefficient?
But one's
4x.
negative, so you don't have to change it.
Okay, 1 is a negative. Do I have to times this by a negative 1 then?
No.
No. I can just go ahead and work this. I'm adding. So those would cancel out. I'd have 16y equals 16. Divide by 16. Y equals 1. Since I didn't have to times by negative 1, it became a lot easier. Yes?
So wait, what are the equations that you have?
We multiply by negative 1 when, like 1 through 4, the variable that we were going to eliminate, like our 2y and 2i, they're the same value. They're both positive. We're going to multiply by 1, so we have 1's positive and 1's negative. Okay? We then put 1 in for y. And so if I would go ahead and solve, I'll go do this quickly for you. I'd say 4x, I'm going to use the first one. 9 times 1 equals 5. 4x, 9 times 1 is 9. I'm going to subtract 9. And so I'd get negative 4. Divide by 4. X equals negative 1. My final answers, negative 1, 1. Alright, I'm going to give you today's homework here in just a second. This worksheet should go into your 3-ring binder for your notes. Because remember, if I let you use notes on your quiz or anything, or if you need a review. Okay, follow up, I'm almost done. Looking at your homework. I have it on paper for you. I need a few people focusing still. Okay, for your homework, look. If we look at here, I'm going to skip and go all the way down to this bottom one for a reason. Look at number 11 real quick. 5x equals y plus 6. 5x plus 2y equals 3. What is different on this equation? Dylan, turning around. I'm going to have to find a new spot for you. You turn around. I've already asked you a number of times, but you're being distracted there. What's different on this equation? Aiden?
The equal sign is in different areas.
The equations are not written the same. Things are not lined up. I cannot go ahead and do this one. Like right away I'd say, hey, I have a 5x and a 5x. They're both positive. Times the bottom one by a negative, and let's go ahead and add them. However, it has not worked this way yet. So I would have to choose, what do I want to do? I can move the y to the other side of the equal sign, or on the first one I can move the y over. It does not matter which method I use. If I was to do it, I'd probably say it's just as easy to do this. So I would have looked at this equation, and I would do I would take it and I'd just say, okay, I'm going to minus 2y. Minus 2y. And I have 5x equals negative 2y plus 3. And then I could rewrite my equations. There's the top one. And now my bottom one. Notice how now my x's are lined up, my equal signs lined up, my y's lined up, and my constants lined up. Fortunately for you, I said I didn't want to work on that part as well. I just want you to do nothing but what we did today. So, your homework due for tomorrow. I'll give you this worksheet.
All 16.
No.
Yeah. Only.
No.
Only the one that. Oh.
You know what?
Says it on the board.
I was gonna make it 1 through 10. I'm gonna change it. I'll make it 1 through 8, just so it's just the front side of the worksheet. The back side, you're more than welcome to do it if you want extra practice. But make sure you put your name on it. You must do 1 through 8. Tomorrow, this will be a completion score. I'm going to ask to see, did you get it done?
You like my touch?
Over that.
Okay, we still have time in class. My expectation right now is that you are focused on your assignment so you can get started and get any help you need.